So I've been covering Tubu Vortex ever since it released back in 2023, so that's about 3 years. And to be honest, for me, it's met up to expectations. Actually, I can't technically say that since I don't know the expectations that were set for it, but I can confidently say it met my expectations. But part of being an objective analyst is acknowledging the good and the bad when it comes to a specific thing. I felt like so far I didn't really go over the bad, the things that I feel Tubu Vortex could do better to make it appeal to more people. And I have seen fans of the series in my comment section talking about things that could be better in this series all the time. And I do acknowledge it, but it's time I actually made a video giving my thoughts on the matter. Something that I always see on my feed is that Tubu Vortex isn't dark enough for some viewers. In fact, I believe Tubu Vortex is supposed to be the most serious tone series out the 4 big series: Naruto, Naruto Shippuden, and Boruto NNG. Especially part 1, because going into this time skip, we knew for sure that the stakes were much higher than before. Boruto lost everything: his family, friends, reputation, and most of the world is out to get him after what he's done to Naruto. This is just based off what we knew going into it. So pretend we didn't know that somehow Kashin Koji teamed up with Boruto and they went on to form an alliance with the Hokage. Like, it was just supposed to be Boruto against the world, with Sarada maybe, just maybe secretly supporting him from behind the scenes, because we know she was the only one besides Sumire who really knew the truth. I mean, all in all, we expected it to be a really dark series, but we weren't physically told it was going to be that. We just came to that conclusion based off of several factors, and that is what was going on in the series at the time part 1 ended, like omnipotence, Kawaki reigning supreme as the strongest in Konoha besides Damon, and him constantly trying to end Boruto's life. Then we have the situation where Ikemoto discussed that the time skip was supposed to be a major turning point and redesign of the series, with characters becoming older and the story moving into a new phase. This basically told us that they were going in a completely new direction than part 1. And like I said before, according to what was happening in the story at the time, we only could predict it meant that it was time for the story to get a lot more dark. Not to mention, we knew with the arrival of the time skip, we would also get closer to the scene here with Boruto and Kawaki's final fight. So speaking logically, just based off the events that would eventually lead us to these events, it would have to be somewhat dark, right? But so far, some people seem that it's not exactly as dark as they thought it would be. The story gives these characters too many loopholes in order to reverse the stakes presented to them, or back out of a decision that would actually pay off more if it resulted in them being permanently injured or killed off. We look at a power like prescience. It's a really broken ability, but it's also perfect for this type of series, because as the audience, we basically know what's going to happen before it actually happens. And not only that, we have an idea on what multiple futures look like, and what percentages certain futures have to actually happen. So it literally creates a situation where these main characters have to weigh their options. The perfect future doesn't exist. So if one future is really fortunate compared to the others, they have to lean towards that future. The only thing is that sometimes the quote-unquote good future probably entails an innocent person sacrificing their life. Or if not sacrificing their life, then making a life-changing decision. That's a perfect system to really show the readers the stakes that are presented in the story. But despite prescience being the perfect system to do that, it seems that so far, they've been finding situations where they can avoid the stakes altogether. Or to be more accurate, during the actual confrontation, the stakes were present, we even seen it. But it's kind of like Ikemoto backs out of it at the last moment rather than fully committing to it. A prime example of this would have to be recently when Inojin sacrificed his own eyes in order to defeat Mamushi for good. The problem was there. They no longer had the means to defeat Mamushi. They had the chance to do it, but Sarada failed her only chance. Now Mamushi multiplied over 1,000 times, and at the same time, their strongest fighters like Damon and Kawaki were running out of steam. Kashin Koji even told Inogen that he didn't know what would happen in this timeline since the future already changed so much from its original path. So relying on prescience isn't an option anymore. It's perfect, right? Inogen makes that move to take it upon himself to sacrifice his own eyes to prevent any unnecessary deaths. No other people died in this arc. The worst thing that happened is Inogen lost his sight. I would say that's a generous price to pay considering everyone else gets to live. And having Inogen remain blind throughout the rest of the story wouldn't even be remotely bad for his character. He's already a sensory type shinobi who utilizes mind transmission techniques to be useful in battle. He's not necessarily a physical fighter, so he can still be very active in battle. In all reality, you're not giving up much by having him remain blind. And even Inogen himself knew the risk he was taking and fully accepted his own decision and was ready to live with the results. It shows his insane determination and resolve. And we know Inogen will eventually adapt to being sightless. Some blind characters are one of the strongest in their verse, so it's not a handicap or anything like that. But instead of giving that to us, you have Himawari heal his eyes, and now it's like that never happened. I guess you could see the problem with that now. You introduce these stakes for the situation, and you have a character make a big decision that would make him a fan favorite for a lot of people. Then you strip it away because you're not ready to fully commit to big changes. For a lot of people, it just ruins the entire moment. And if Ikemoto is not willing to do this for a lesser character like Inogen, that could mean for more major characters, you definitely won't see anything close to that. This kind of reminds me that I meant to talk about Yodo for a moment. I do like the conclusion to her character, and I love that Ikemoto wasn't afraid to have Ryu end her life. This was the first death of Tubular Vortex that actually mattered. It was a character that was fully implemented in the story since early part 1. So this was the first moment where I felt Ikemoto really jumped out and surprised us. The only thing that I wish is that he treated her death like it mattered. There's a good chance that I'm speaking too soon and I need to wait it out, and if I turn out to be wrong, then cool, that's a win for all of us. But when it comes to Yodo, I just wish they treated her death as more than just a fuel for Sarada to activate her Mangekyo Sharingan. Shinki was saved right after this arc concluded, and we have yet to see how he took her death. Even Araya, we just haven't seen too much of him after this arc concluded, which was kind of disappointing not only for us, but also for her. This got me thinking that Ikemoto probably didn't care for her as much as I thought. As soon as she was gone, she just became a memory. Usually you use these type of deaths as motivation to get stronger and become a better person, but we aren't given the chance to see that from Shinki or Araya, which are her two teammates who she grew up with. And I also feel that he did this to really cement the shinju as menacing, because now that Yodo was killed, she became the first person out the main cast that the shinju killed. The random Konoha shinobi don't really count when you're talking about deaths that actually matter. You introduce these strong characters, and these beings are supposed to be worse than anything they've ever faced up to this point. So Ikemoto had to show that, and this is how he decided to show us. I don't know if it really hit home like he thought it would, but this is the reality of it. Yodo was used as a plot device to aura farm for the shinju and act as a catalyst for Sarada's growth. Simple as that. Kashin Koji knew that well enough too. That's why he was willing to just let her die. And that's another thing. This is why I think Koji is such a good character to just have in the story. He fits the tone and energy that Ikemoto wants to have. He's willing to just say goodbye to certain characters in order to get to the best possible future. He understands that the best path cannot be obtained without sacrifice. He truly embraces the feel of how Tubular Vortex is supposed to be. My personal favorite panel of Kashin Koji is this right here, right when he told Inogen to unalive Lord Kobu. This panel is so iconic because it goes against literally anything I have ever seen from this franchise. This is the darkest I've seen Tubular Vortex, ever. You could jump off, make it look like he was attacked by Momushi and panicked. There's no group transmission right now. Only you and I are in this conversation. There will be no evidence. I mean, just look at this conversation for yourself. Kashin Koji is telling Inogen to unalive Lord Kobu right in front of his face. It goes against everything it means to be a shinobi, but Koji is willing to go that far to save the planet because it yields the highest chance of survival. And now later on, we learn that if they did kill Kobu, it would have benefited the future. I'm not saying they should have done it, but if they had done it, there would be no repercussions besides Inojin feeling horrible about it. But him losing his sight could have been his own punishment for doing it, or he could have seen it like that. And it's a situation that not many people expected, so he had a situation where he drew many readers in with this, excited for the next chapter to see if he actually goes through with it, only to see that it's the same as always. They see it's the wrong thing to do, so they find an alternative that ends up working for them in the end. It's not a bad idea whatsoever, but like I said, it's what we expect. It's the norm. To put it bluntly, everyone wanted to see bro jump off that cliff and end Kobu's life. It's just something that a lot of people are interested in because it's outside the norm, and it's more exciting to see the result of that and how it affects these characters. Like, yeah, Boruto would have been pissed at Koji for doing it, but that would have been great for the story. We want to see that conflict between them. We want to feel that tension. We want to see what Boruto is gonna do about it. We want to see characters like Inojin get put in these situations more. It's actually fine that he didn't choose to get rid of Kobu, but because of that, something worse should have happened. Because then it justifies why Koji was so pressed about unaliving this man. He's the one with prescience, so he knows all the possible futures, good and bad, and what it takes to get to those futures. So it would have been perfect if it was executed like that. I'll say it again. No, I don't think it was bad that Kobu ended up living, but sooner or later, we want to feel that high stakes situation where these characters are almost demanded to make a decision that goes against their morals for the sake of humanity. If you have to choose to save Mitsuki over Shikadai because one is more valuable to the future, then so be it. You know what I mean? I want to see more of that. I want to feel that high pressured situation along with the main cast. But that's really it. That's the main problem with Two Blue Vortex. It's a series with no stakes, or at least it feels like that. But there's a clear way to fix this, and it's easy. Just use prescience as more of an absolute thing. Create a situation where Boruto is going to have to literally choose a future based on the probability of success and how many casualties that future entails. And make these decisions matter more in the long run. A prime example is when he let Code live. Even though we're seeing the results of it now, make Boruto actually regret not getting rid of Code when he had the chance. Let Code do something irreparable, irreversible, unforgivable, or have him achieve a new form and become one of the strongest, most annoying villain. Something that leads to a dark future for Boruto, like the death of someone close. I already know Ikemoto doesn't have the gall to end a character like Sarada or Himawari, but is Sumire out of the question? Is Damon out of the question? Is Mitsuki out of the question? Is Sasuke out of the question? Characters like that. I guess Sasuke would be one of the biggest moves because that's a character he didn't even establish. So to end him would be the ultimate move from Ikemoto. A real gamble. I don't even want him to do that. But if he does, then that's the kind of thing that would cement this series as truly dark, just like everyone expected. You know, this actually reminds me of when everyone was mad that Guy survived his fight with Madara. That was worse than anything Boruto showed up to this point. If that happened in Two Blue Vortex, people would call this series Mickey. So just know it was a thing before this. Don't say it's only happening now because that's not true. Kishimoto also had this problem, but when it was time to execute some stakes correctly, he did his thing. There are actually some issues I have with other individual characters, like I would say Himawari, but I kind of want to save that for another video because I do have a lot that I want to say on that. I just wanted to talk about this specifically today. I just felt strongly about this, so I had to get it off my chest. So if you feel the same way, or maybe you felt I was being a little too harsh, let me know down below in the comment section. And if you was given the chance, what would you change about Two Blue Vortex? Let me know all your thoughts down below. And without further ado, if you all enjoyed this video, and don't mind seeing more like this in the near future, go ahead and like the video. Also comment, subscribe, and turn on them post notifications so you don't miss another video like this or when I go live for chapter spoilers. And until my next one, I'll see you boys and girls later. And I'm out. Peace.